David Locke along with Ron Boone, little Locked on Jazz TV, the POSTCAST. Someone said we should call it the lockdown. I like the POSTCAST better because I don't want to have it all be about me.
Yeah, that's a good idea, David.
I figured
I don't want it to be all about you either.
96-94, the Clippers beat the Utah Jazz tonight. Two kind of stories in this one. There's the first half and there's the second half. We'll start on the second half where for the first time in this preseason, the Jazz really ended up getting hammered defensively. We haven't seen that before. Everything's been how good the defense is. They got hammered defensively tonight.
Well, for the first time, they were challenged. For the most part, throughout this preseason, the Jazz have been able to take it to their opponent, whether it's on the offensive end or the defensive end of the floor. So for the first time, they were challenged, I thought, in that third quarter by an all-star and a first-team all-league player in Chris Paul, who's very, very good. Didn't react to it very, very well, and you can see the Jazz need to do some work on defending the pick and roll.
Okay, so the pick and roll is a real problem for the Jazz last year. It was usually the high pick and roll that caused them problem. What we've noticed, and you've pointed out to me, I'm stealing all your stuff right now, really, is that so far in this preseason when the pick and rolls come, the help has come from the weak side very well. Those guys have been hanging in. Guys have kind of cut off the lane. When Nash probed, there was nothing there. Tonight, the Clippers seemed to move that pick and roll, and that caused the Jazz the most problems.
They really did. When they were able to split the trap there off the pick and roll, then you have numbers. And then when they were able to come off the top of the screen off the pick and roll, they were able to get into the paint. They still had numbers, which means that weak side guy was not there in the paint waiting, and that would force the pick and roll guy, the player, to throw it across the court, and then that's when your rotation comes in. So it's that help defense right there in the middle of the floor that wasn't there. You don't want them scoring in the paint. If you want them scoring anywhere, you want them scoring from the perimeter, shooting a three-point shot in a situation like that, and the Jazz didn't do it.
Now, the other thing we've been talking about all preseason was the transition. That just simply disappeared in the third quarter. Now, partially you're not getting stops, but even out of non-stops, the Jazz have been able to run a little bit. That just completely went away in the third quarter.
Well, the Clippers end up only shooting in that third quarter. They end up shooting 42%, but they were at 33% there in that third at the half. So they picked things up. They shot a very good percentage, and the Jazz were unable to run as much as they did in that first half because the Clippers didn't shoot a very good percentage. Now, can you run after a made shot? Absolutely, you can. But they didn't do that either. So, I'm sure that, the coaching staff will look at those things and try to correct them for the next ball game.
All right, so that was kind of the negative parts of this one. And you know what? That's, I think, maybe the most important comment. What Ron just said is the coaching staff now actually has some teaching points. I mean, these guys are feeling pretty good about themselves, and Ty and the group get their attention back, and the Clippers come back on Saturday, so you work on specifically those things. You get to play the Clippers again. The other side of the story is that the first half was really quite brilliant by the Jazz, and it's weird to have this kind of backside of it, but that group of Foy, Burks, Damari Carroll, Jeremy Evans, and Enes Kanter had a fabulous second quarter in this game where they outscored the Clippers 25-13. Defensively, they held them to 4 of 20 shooting, and Enes Kanter had 10 points and 6 rebounds in that second quarter going up against NBA guys, showing that a lot of what we've seen so far in this preseason has some legitimacy to it.
Yeah, you can obviously, his improvement is obvious, and his confidence is definitely there. He's just doing so many things well. He's going to demand minutes this year strictly by the way, he's improved in the way he's playing. Now, the Clippers didn't shoot a very good percentage in that first quarter, and the Jazz were out and running. They were at one point the Clippers only had 4 field goals. They ended up with 10 there in the first quarter, but the Jazz were out and running because they were missing so many shots, and they were able to just get ahead of the defense. Things changed in that third quarter.
Okay, one of the ongoing, and there's little areas there. We don't need to be as simple as just 14 points and 9 rebounds means Kanter was good. Jeff Hornacek at halftime joined us, pointed out a bunch of areas where he needed to do a better job, that Blake was getting around him on free throws and some other things. I mean, you can be really simplistic by looking at a box score, and the coaches are definitely going deeper than that. One of the areas where we've kind of talked about throughout this is the backup point guard position. That got a lot of look because Mo Williams didn't play the last 2 games. What do you think Tyrone Corbin and his staff have learned about the choices they have between Jamal Tinsley or between Randy Foye as the backup point guard when Mo Williams is healthy?
Well, right now, I'm sure it's Jamal Tinsley. They got a real good look at what Foye can give them. Now, Foye's a bonus. He's basically a 2. He has the body of a 2. He's very, very strong, has the range. He thinks offense and shooting the basketball. He'll be a bonus at the 2-guard position. I think that position there, that backup point guard, just might be with, someone else. Now, who knows? When Mo Williams gets back and he becomes a starter, then I think the coaching staff will make that decision.
Maybe the most important thing is if we looked at Mo Williams' career, hopefully this won't happen this year, but traditionally his body only holds up for about 65 of the 82 games. So there's probably going to be some games, probably at least 10, maybe as many as 20, where this combination has to play, and at least you now know. And Earl Watson hopefully gets healthy as another option at some point in time here. The one player we'll talk about a little bit, Alec Burks, he hit 3 big shots late from the outside. Prior to that was 0 of 6, and he is being reminded of some of the areas where he still needs to develop different aspects of his offensive game.
It really is. And obviously on the offensive end, he just needs to slow down just a tad. I mean, just a little bit, just enough to the point where he can gather and he can pull up and knock down a jump shot. Every time he drives to the basket doesn't mean that he's trying to draw a foul. If you're going to do that, you must be able to shoot free throws and make free throws. But the important thing for him is to be a little more under control.
All right, all this is irrelevant. We'll never remember anything about this game except for one thing.
What's that?
Jeremy Evans' block shot and taking it the other way for a slam dunk. That was an awesome play.
It really was. It's probably the highlight of this road trip, because the bench was up, everybody was giving high fives. I mean, it was just a spectacular play, and rightfully so. This guy can jump. He likes to dunk the basketball. He's a slam dunk champion last year. So Terry got Spalding.
Yes, he did. He got blocked on one side and spiked on the other. Jazz lose at 96-94. That's your postcast. David Locke along with Ron Boone will be back with you on Saturday as the Jazz play the same Clipper team at Energy Solutions. Remember, the Clippers come to town twice in December. Tickets for those games are available at UtahJazz.com. That pick-em pack is there for you. 7 games, and you get to pick whichever ones. I just choose the first 7 if I were you. Have a good night.